Episode 93. We've won the Community Shield. We've won the EFL Cup. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still in the Champions League. And we're still well within reach of winning the Premier League. Is this going to be the season where we just win everything in one go? Especially considering how unlucky we were not to win the league last season? I don't know. But there's one way to find out, and that's by playing. So, last episode we of course beat Man United, and off camera we kind of struggled to overcome a Cardiff City that took the lead against us first. We had to make some changes, and yeah, you could definitely tell players weren't exactly 100% coming back from international duty. And in terms of injuries, well, even though a lot of our important players, like your Barbosas, like your Kunzes and Nanos, have obviously come back from injury, Carlos Elenia, who's been such an important player for us ever since he joined the club 3 seasons ago. I mean, just look at them stats. You know, his return on goals and assists from a midfielder for £2.4 million really is phenomenal. And it just makes me wonder why Barcelona even let go of him in this game. It really does. But anyways, that to one side, Carlos Elenia is injured. Fortunately, though, it's only a twisted ankle, so he will hopefully be able to finish the season with us once he's back. But that to one side, this is going to be a double episode. Roma first leg, I'll then play our game in the Premier League against Newcastle off camera, and then we'll come back for the second leg of the Roma game. It is, of course, Champions League quarter-final game. Napoli beat Man City 2-0 in their first leg. Real Madrid have beat Tottenham Hotspur 2-1 in their first leg. But as we know, Spurs, I think they lost their first leg against Barcelona, then turned it around, so anything's possible within that regards. And in a way, I really hope that Napoli kind of knock Man City out, because Man City are a team that we've struggled to play against in the league this season. They play counter-attacking football, but they just bloody put everyone behind the ball. They're very difficult to break down. So I think actually playing someone like a Napoli, who are currently struggling in the league, 10th in Serie A, is actually something that would work in our favour if we can get past Roma, of course, who, unfortunately for us, are actually top of Serie A right now, looking to obviously break your typical Juve Milan domination of Italy. And we actually had Roma, I think it was in the Europa League a few seasons ago within our group. We beat them. They had players like Kulwan and Mohamed Salah playing in their side, Wijnaldum as well. And to be honest, their team hasn't really changed that much. If we take a look at their schedule, a lot of their wins have been narrow 1-0 wins or 2-1 wins or 4-2s. You can see they do leak goals. And I do genuinely feel like on paper, when you compare both teams and you consider that they almost struggled to get past FC Basel, who, with all due respect to FC Basel, aren't exactly on the same level of Roma, I think despite that 2-1 win against Juve, which was really, really fortunate because Pjanic got a red card, I think we have the quality to take on Roma and book ourselves, come the end of this episode, a place in the Champions League semi-finals. Now, not ideal. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still obviously in the Champions League, especially, well, we definitely will still be in the Champions League if we can beat Roma over 2 legs. And we're also fighting and contending for the Premier League as well. Man United have been knocked out of the FA Cup thanks to us. They've also been knocked out of the Champions League thanks to Paris Saint-Germain, which means that fixture congestion is a lot less of an issue for them. So that could work in their favour come the end of the season. But let's not worry about the Premier League for now. It seems like every other episode I say that because we're in so many competitions at once. And let's go to Italy, have some spaghetti, have some pizza, wave at Francesco Totti in the crowd, and see if we can at least get an away goal, you know, and bring them back to Ewood Park and see if we can then finish off the tie there. Here we are then at the Olimpico Stadium in Rome. Quippers is the name of the referee, just to make sure I don't think he's a player, like I did against Man United in the last episode. Started randomly thinking the referee was a player for some strange reason. Right, okay, so starting lineups. 4-2-3-1 from Roma. To be honest, they've lined up exactly how I expected them to do. Stefan El-Shaarawy will cut inside a lot of the time. He plays a little bit more forward than Mohamed Salah, will look to really track back a little bit. He has that extra bit of pace, so he can afford to do that and try and take on our fullback. Now, most of their attacks, I still feel like the name of the game for Roma here is Salah, who's left-footed, cut inside on the right-hand side, allow Bruno Perez to overlap on that right-hand side and try and get the ball into the box where El-Shaarawy will look to try and get a headed goal, or Luan will look to use his pace and try and almost act like a fox in the box. And to be fair, El-Shaarawy's goal against Juventus in their last game came exactly like that. So it is something we're aware about. But it's kind of one of them games where, you know, you look at the opposition, you feel like on paper you've got a much better side, you feel like you trust your lads. All we've really done here, obviously we've got some new faces coming in like Dionisio and Sousa, Morales, Kunz, etc. You know, coming into the side because of injuries, because especially Dionisio, I prefer playing him in the European competitions. Nice, young in the cup competitions as well. Give him some game time whilst preserving Szczesny for the league. I think it's good to have rotation. So I think we should just aim to keep it simple. We're going in hard on Wijnaldum being their playmaker. I don't really think Wijnaldum's that good, but he's only got 11 strength. And with a 4-2-3-1, you just know he's going to kind of be a key element towards trying to get the ball towards Luan, who used to play for Arsenal, used to cause problems with Arsenal, but he's not as fast as he used to be. 15 acceleration, 14 pace. Scored against us as well in the Champions or the Europa League a few seasons ago. But like I said, I feel like we've got the quality. We've changed to fullbacks. We're looking for the overlap to try and get a bit of extra width away from home. Standard mentality. Let's start things off playing the way we usually do away from home. And to be fair, we did that against Benfica. We tried not to overthink it, and we beat them 5-0 in Portugal. So let's go with that for now. And if we start noticing that Roma really do have the upper hand, have the upper edge, we can then maybe try to make more changes. The only thing I'm really wary about is I feel like our central midfield is a little bit lightweight in comparison to Nainggolan and Diakate, who are both just wrestlers in the middle of the park. So really for us, it's really more about keeping the tempo high, I think, playing a little bit more direct than we usually do and try and utilise width a lot more, which is why we're using fullbacks as well. But we'll see what it's like. If it looks like we're struggling to get the ball wide, we'll increase our width and really just go from there. And as always, tweak as we go along. Here we go then. So it is going to be us to kick off and go for a cheeky demand more. And straight away, we saw Nainggolan bash straight into Marco Rog, really. And yeah, that's what I was talking about in terms of they've got them two ball winners in the middle of the park. Nainggolan's going to look to protect the defence a little bit more than Diakite might, for example. So we'll have to wait and see. If it feels like we're not creating enough chances, it probably will be down to the sheer amount of physicality they offer in the middle of the park. And as we can see, we're keeping possession, but their directness is giving them more opportunities of goal. So straight away, we look to change things around. So first of all, I feel like 56% of possession is kind of meaningless. We're going to up our tempo a little bit more and increase our passing directness and see where that takes us. And move to be a little bit more balanced. Because like I said, I feel like the wider we stretch ourselves, the more of the pitch we start to cover, and the closer it gets us to the wide areas and further away from the middle of the park, which is where I feel like most of Roma's defensive stability comes from. Normally we like to play through the middle, especially when you consider Alenya's obviously a very creative player. But here we go. So Callas is going to head that ball back to Luan. Got to be careful of Luan's pace, which is why we're playing with a normal defensive line. But here we go. We can already see Piaka pulling a lot wider than we're normally used to see him doing. Kunz on the ball. It would be nice to maybe see Varjek make more of a run forward. It was a nice run, though, from Sousa, but a poor finish. He is left-footed, and ideally, you wanted him on his right foot there. And if it was maybe Alenya playing, that could have maybe ended a little bit differently. Now, one thing we could potentially do, I'm really not happy about the yellow cards we seem to be picking up recently. One thing we could look to do is, in fact, change Varjek to kind of be more of a wing-back. I don't want Augustinsson to be a wing-back because, again, Roma's main wing-back is down that side. You can see him there, Bruno Perez. And, yeah, it's going to be really important for Piaka to also cover Augustinsson. But we've not actually seen too much from Roma come down the right-hand side. And going forward, I do feel like we could do with the overlap. El Shaarawy, even though, yeah, on paper, great player, pacey in real life. If you actually look at his stats, he's like 28 and nowhere near as good physically as he probably is in real life right now. Because let's bear in mind, we are in the future here. But here we go. It looks like we're mounting an attack and we're going to score a goal. Barbosa getting the assist from Marco Piaka. And you could see, you know, that entire build-up, that entire highlight, I honestly had no idea whether it was going to be our highlight or not. Diakite came very, very close to winning the ball back, and that's the name of the game for Roma. They've got them 2 ball-winning midfielders, and they're going to look to try and spring us on the counter-attack and play very, very direct football. I do feel like we've got to be a little bit careful in terms of getting a man sent off, so we're actually going to go a little bit more narrow, take get stuck in off for now, and I'll drop us back to a counter mentality as well. Let's try and see things out until the start of the second half. Most importantly, like I said, try and not get a man sent off, because getting a man sent off right now would probably leave us in a incredibly tough situation. So, Piaka to Barbosa. Kunz is going to pick the ball up. Should really give it to Varjek, and he does. Varjek actually finds Morales. I didn't spot that pass. Barbosa's in. Oh, what a goal. What a goal. Gabriel Barbosa is the man of the moment, like the commentator says. And full credit where it's due to Varjek. I did not see Morales there in the deep line playmaker position. And, you know, round of applause, I think it has to be said, for Sousa to spot. What was it? Was that a back heel pass? I don't know what it was, but it was one hell of a pass from Nuno Sousa. And I'll tell you what, guys, Sousa has been quality. Oh, for God's sake, there's the red card. Sousa has been quality ever since coming into the team. But, yeah, we could have gone back to Blackburn with a comfortable 2-0 lead. But instead, Marco Rog gets sent off. And I don't know what it is with some of our players recently. I don't know whether it's the referees kind of being against us. I don't know. But, yeah, it is kind of annoying. Okay, so these are the changes, basically, in terms of what we're going to look to do. I feel like at the moment, the name of the game is to at least not concede before half-time, because 2-1 will be pretty bad right now. We still have 2 away goals, of course, which is great, but if we can still hold on to 2-0, which I think we can with 10 men. We did it against Man United with 10 men a few episodes ago. So what we're going to do is leave Barbosa exactly where he is. He's grabbed 2 goals for us so far, the ex-Inter Milan man looking to get revenge against Roma. We're just going to move Piaka back just to help Augustinsson out defensively, who's now an IWB. So Piaka is going to be looking to man-mark Mohamed Salah. Augustinsson is going to stay a little bit more narrower. If it feels like Bruno Perez overlapping is causing problems, then I might just get Piaka to man-mark Perez. And now, because Augustinsson's the IWB, he can obviously catch Mohamed Salah as he cuts inside. But other than that, team instruction-wise, we're staying counter. We're going to drop our tempo down to higher. Obviously, we made some changes early on where we moved it to much higher and went a little bit wider. I think that helped us get the first of our 2 goals. But we're now retaining possession and looking to be a little bit more disciplined, as you'd probably expect. Really important that we stay switched on from set pieces as well, particularly against Italian teams like Roma. I mean, if we can get a 3rd goal, that would be awesome. I think what's important for us now is that when we do see the ball, we're intelligent with it. You know what I mean? So let's try and keep them grounded. It's going to be difficult now that we're a man down to keep your performance levels up. Barbosa, for some reason, is confused. I'm not quite sure why. But it's nice to see that most of the lads see eye to eye with me right now. I feel like Sousa should come off. He's done really well to obviously get a assist for us. However, it almost feels like He's young and he could get sent off as well. So I'm thinking of maybe giving Nigel a run around. But another part of me is kind of thinking, Romeu's probably a little bit better defensively. So it's a tough one. But what I'm actually going to do is move Morales into midfield and bring Romeu on in front of the back two. I think Romeu offers a bit more physically. So hopefully he'll kind of take a little bit of pressure off Callas, who we don't really want to force into making a challenge he doesn't need to at the moment. Roma kick off and start things off by telling the lads to tighten up. And I'm mainly going to be keeping an eye on the possession stats right now. And the second I say that, our possession stat increases. Now Varjek has got a yellow card. What is it with these referees giving us yellow cards left, right and centre? We don't even get stuck in. I mean, I know some of our players are told to tackle harder, but give me a break. That was a terrible shot from Luan. It almost feels like the referees want us to lose another man. I'm not going to tell them to stay on feet. It just isn't. It isn't how I want to manage my team. We'll keep an eye on things as things progress. But if it seems like more yellow cards are being thrown out left, right, and centre, then we'll look to maybe make further changes. So once again, tell them to tighten up. Roma haven't really appeared in this second half. 70 minutes in. It's probably about time we bring on some slightly fresher legs in midfield. And for that reason, I am going to give Nigel a run around. Italian player against an Italian side. And I think Varela has to come on for Varjek here. Varjek, yellow card. He's had a good game, especially after we, we wanted him to go a little bit more offensive. Did we change? Did we change his individual instructions? I know that was something we were discussing, was going through my head. But it does seem like, oh, there's Varela. Good tackle from the Uruguayan, who was kind of frustrated, actually, that he didn't get registered in the Champions League group stages. Probably maybe change set pieces to have an extra man back. But, again, it doesn't really look like Roma were even setting up for the counter-attack there, leaving only one man forward. So, maybe not necessary. Doesn't really feel like we need to change anything either. Kind of as expected, I think in the end, our quality shone through. And even when we went down to 10 men, we had to tweak things around. We had to make changes. It kind of feels like even the referee's against us. Yeah. But despite that, we've managed to hold on. We've... oh, that was close. We've managed to maintain most of the possession. And we're going to be going back to Ewood Park with two really, really good away goals. Okay, so Newcastle game played and a successful victory. 3-0. Was the final score. I'll tell you what, we scored some lovely goals this game. Newcastle didn't get a sniff. But let's bear in mind that, this is a Newcastle side who are currently fourth in the Premier League, doing better than teams like Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. So I think that was a real good result. And it was, of course, real nice to get revenge against them because they beat us early on in the season in the Premier League, where Andrea Bellotti got a hat-trick against us, did the Italian. But, of course, we now have our second leg to play against Roma. Before we do that, I want to show you guys our first goal against Newcastle, because it was just such a lovely goal. There it is. Kunz picked it up, got the ball back from Varjek, held it up, and then look at this lovely back heel from Barbosa. Knew exactly that Piaka was always going to be behind him, and it was a great finish by Marco Piaka, who got 2 goals that game. Another thing that's also worth mentioning is that Barbosa got injured against Newcastle. Fortunately, though, especially given that he's finding goal-scoring form from somewhere, which is really what we always knew he could do. 3 goals and 2 assists in his last 5 matches, which is why we paid the big sum of £15 million for him in the summer. It's taken him a bit of time to adapt to the English game, but it seems like he's getting there now. He's only out for 3 days. But we're at Ewood Park. We've got 2 away goals against Roma. Let's see if we can book ourselves a place in the Champions League semi-final. Here we go then. You may or may not have noticed that in the first leg, I actually had my formation open. Sometimes it does that, like it switches a formation you have open. And I looked at it several times, like, why would I need to know what formation I'm playing? Like, I should know what formation I'm playing. Obviously, I use this to keep an eye on tactical changes the other team do. Like, for example, against Newcastle in the last game, they started off with a 4-2-3-1, then switched it to a 4-4-2. Il Devasto style with AML and AMR. But anyways, so 2-0. And, really, I need to rotate players. I need to keep people fit. But you can only register so many players for the Champions League. Varela comes in instead of Varjek. Give Varjek a bit of a rest. Romeu could probably come on in a defensive midfielder position at half-time. Niang is looking to regain fitness. Nano plays instead of Barbosa. Piaka, after a superb performance against Newcastle, deserves to stay in the side. We've got a very young midfield with Morales and Sousa in there, but I trust the lads. Well, just one mistake I've actually just noticed. I'm playing Szczesny in goal rather than Dionisio, which is kind of disappointing because, meh. Oh well, I missed that before the game. Team instruction-wise, we're going to be more disciplined, shorter passing, retain possession. Other than that, keep everything really roughly the same way it always is. And like we did in the first leg, just come out, play our own game, and hopefully the result will come. Luan is no longer playing up front, which kind of took Spalletti a bit of time to figure that one out, that Luan was not really going to get in behind both Thomas Callas and Volkvist. Or Augustinsson even, everyone contributes. Plus we play with a sweeper keeper. And Romero actually plays up front now, who doesn't look great. He kind of looks like he could maybe, if he gets the ball in the box, he might finish. But other than that, he doesn't really look phenomenal. Doesn't really look great in the air. Doesn't really look like he has bags of pace on him. Just kind of looks like a standard all-rounder, really, who we should really be able to handle. I think it would cause us more problems if he actually played Luan down the middle and it kind of turned into two up front off the ball. But yeah, whatever. On the ball, sorry, not off the ball. Bruno Perez, interestingly, is a little bit more laid back than he was in the first leg. Okay, that'll probably change though. And like I said, let's not overcomplicate things. Let's just keep the ball, play our own game, and hopefully win. So it's nice, obviously, to see some familiar faces like Niang start to get back into the side. Really good as well that Barbosa's injury isn't too serious, because he's actually turning into quite an important player for us in this second half of the season. Piaka also dried up at times around the Christmas period, but he's certainly started to rediscover his form. Real good tackle there from Morales. We do look a little bit narrower than maybe we could afford to be, but hey, it helps us, hold on to the ball because our players remain slightly closer together. Wow! I wasn't expecting that pass from Niang. Nano heads it. Oh, so close. That's an interesting corner. Not really seen us try one of them before. And again, Roma are 2-0 down. You'd think they'd probably stick two up front when we have an attacking corner, just try and hit us on the break, but didn't really happen. The reason why I've gone with Nano instead of Andre Gray, people that we've had two clear-cut chances now, should have really scored there, is because I feel like Nano is a little bit better on the ball. Naturally, he comes deeper, helps us hold on to the ball, which is really what we're looking to do in this game. Roma have had 2 shots on target, not really threatened, and we've had most of the possession as expected. And it does look like the yellow cards are starting to come out, which isn't really what the doctor ordered. Good catch there from Szczesny. As usual, we're going to look to play out the back. Again, it feels like we should be wider. Varela finds Niang. But, you see, the thing is, our current width is something we're used to playing with. And even though I feel like we could benefit from being wider, I don't really want to make the change because I don't really want to take us out of our match familiarity comfort zone. And even though I say we should be wider, Marco Piaka scores one hell of a volley. Varela to Sousa. He got an assist, in the first... Well, was it really a volley? It was kind of a volley. He let it bounce first and then he took it. Great ball from the Portuguese man in Sousa. I think we might as well sell Douglas in the summer, to be honest. These youngsters in Morales and Sousa are honestly class. Just 3 in the park. Demirbay can leave as well. Morales, Douglas, Elenia probably play Sousa or Morales. Morales more than likely is the defensive midfielder, the deep line playmaker. And, we've basically got Pirlo Jr. on our hands. He got an assist, did Sousa, in the first leg as well. So very happy. Don't let your performance levels drop. Kalas looks stressed. And I'd bring on another centre-back, to be honest, but we don't really have Dumic registered. Dumic probably needs to do one in the summer as well. He's just not athletic enough, I think, for us as a team. So in terms of changes, obviously we've got a 3-0 lead now, so I do have one eye on our Premier League game away at Swansea. So it's probably a good time to bring on some slightly fresher legs. So Romeu will come onto the pitch. I don't want to take Sousa or Morales off just yet. I feel like they're only both 21 and they both really kind of benefit from the experience. And what I also will do is move Niang to the left and give Andre Gray some game time. As far as the next substitution I'd be concerned, unless obviously an injury crops up, I'll probably bring Nigel on around the 60th minute. Straight away, we see a formation change really coming out from Roma. They've changed to like a 4-1-4-1, which is kind of like trying to mimic our formation when they do have the ball and the wingers push up. But I don't know. For me, if I was a Roma manager right now, I'd probably be considering 2 up front. I mean, I'm not just trying to be captain obvious because they're kind of 3-0 down, but the reason why I'd consider 2 up front, and I do feel like we play our worst against teams that have 2 up front and are direct. 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. That was a very fun second half, but all I care about is that it was a professional performance, and that's all that matters. Which means we... Oh, hello. Go on. Oh, what a goal. Great ball from Andre Gray. But yeah, all I really care about at the moment is that we beat him 2-0 away. We beat him 2-0 at home. And we booked ourselves a place in the Champions League semi-final. Fingers crossed we get Napoli. I don't know, just thinking of the teams that are still in there. I think if you had to choose between teams like Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain and stuff like that, you'd probably favour Napoli. But anyways, that was a good, solid win. Congratulate the team. Well done, my boys. Very nice. Another thing I wanted to talk about earlier on was Man United. So they're currently 3 points ahead of us in the Premier League because obviously they've been knocked out of cups, which means that they have more time to rest and more time to play Premier League games. Now, one thing we had going for us was the fact that our goal difference was quite close. Unfortunately, not anymore, thanks to West Ham. A 5-0 stomping of West Ham has done Man United's goal difference a world of good. A 3-1 win against Leicester and a 3-1 win against Spurs. Really, Zidane is Spurs manager now, by the way, not Joachim Löw. We really need Liverpool and Man City. Yeah, I won't focus on Chelsea, but Liverpool and Man City, 2 of Man United's main rivals. We need favours from them. Otherwise, I can see Man United easily winning the Premier League this season. All we can do is honestly from now until the end of the season. Heck, Liverpool should let us win on the final day of the season just to make sure Man United, don't stand a chance of winning the league on the final day of the season. It's going to be one hell of an end to the season. It's really annoying because I'm going to Gamescom tomorrow for a week, which means I won't be able to play this save for a week. And it's just such a bad place to leave the save hanging. But, yeah, you're probably going to see this episode on the week that I'm at Gamescom because I've recorded loads in advance and I'm like scheduling them on YouTube. But a lot of green and we're into the Champions League semi-final. Let's go and see whether or not we can figure out who we're going to be against. We're actually going to get to do the Champions League semi-final draw before I have to play Swansea. Just before we do that, next episode will be an episode against Arsenal. Then after that, we'll play against Newcastle. And only then do we actually have the Champions League semi-final to worry about. And we'll try and make that a double episode very similar to this one. And how we've done the Roma style where play one leg, play the Premier League game off camera, then do the other leg. To be fair, I'd do all 3, but you'd end up with a 40-minute episode, which isn't what we want. So, just before we actually do this, obviously, I guess you guys would probably want to see what happened in the quarter-finals. So, Bayern beat Paris Saint-Germain. We obviously beat Roma. Man City managed to beat Napoli after, I think they went down 2-0 in the first leg, but unfortunately just wasn't enough for him. The one away goal wasn't enough. And like I said, Real Madrid beat Spurs 2-1 in the first leg, but Spurs won the second leg 1-0 with an away goal. So Zidane is leading Spurs to a Champions League semi-final, beating Real Madrid. How awesome is that? But forget that. Let's focus on the draw. I think if I had to choose between any of these teams, I'd probably choose Napoli. But we beat Bayern twice so far this season, I think it is. Let's just remind ourselves, we were in the same group as them. So we beat them 1-0, and then we drew 2-2 against them. And we know that their form has been incredibly iffy in the Bundesliga. Look at how many times, look at their record winning the Bundesliga, and look at the point difference between them and Leverkusen in first place. Heck, even Dortmund are like 20 points below first place, which is phenomenal. Leverkusen and Ralf Hasenhüttl is certainly doing a really, really good job there in Germany. But I think I'd rather play Bayern or Napoli than this new invigorated Zinedine Zidane Tottenham side. So let's not waste any time. Tottenham, Bayern, which means we get Napoli. And I can't really complain about that. Napoli, 7th at the moment in Serie A. Obviously, not really doing great. Still will be incredibly difficult to get past Napoli. Taking a look at their squad, just so we have a rough idea. Oh, for God's sake, he's playing 5 at the back. Oh, this formation's always so OP on the match engine. It's going to be like playing Watford again. Good players in there. Sebastian Corchia, a bit of a wonder kid once upon a time. He's 31 years old now. It's not as fast as he used to develop into. Hakim Ziyech, Moroccan, I believe he is. Plays for Ajax in real life. Not a bad player. Don't really see him as a striker. He's probably more of a deep lying forward. And then Juan Walker. Now, it's actually funny because I've actually been scouting this guy. He looks very good. And I've added him to the shortlist for the summer. It's easy to see why he's a wonder kid. And yeah, he's scoring goals for fun at the moment. Hamsik, surprised to see he's still in the side, a 34-year-old Hamsik. But either way, look, I'm confident we can beat anyone on the day. And we are going to be playing Napoli in the Champions League semi-final. So, what an episode that was. That's going to be it for now. Hopefully, from now to the end of the season, this all carries on in this trend and remains green. I've been Kiner. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching.